Alright guys and ladies, welcome back. This is the fifth video in this art assignment, and we are still focusing on Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. And now that our sky is completed, we are going to start focusing on the mountains and the ground in this one. So I'm going to set this one to the side because it's still a little bit wet. And we can carry on. So, excuse me, what I would do next is I would start to figure out how I was going to create my mountains. So, you know, this is a nighttime scene. So the colors of, you know, the mountains aren't going to be, you know, the same color as they would be during the daytime. So things tend to reflect whatever color the sky is. In this case, we've got the, you know, really dark blue mountain range back there, and then we've got one that's, you know, slightly lighter and then slightly lighter, coming closer towards the town. And so I would say that the lights from the town are kind of reflecting on that mountain, but also the sky color is reflecting on the mountain too. So you've got three different, you know, shades of mountain back there. So you've got your lightest, which will be closest to us. There's kind of a medium color and then a darker color in the background. So we've got to sketch out at least three different mountain ranges, so that we can add a little bit of depth to this artwork that we're working on. And depth just means, you know, how far back into the distance that you can see in this particular artwork. So what I did was I cut some strips. I have 4 sheets here, and I'm going to put one to the side because I don't need one of them right now. I cut 4 strips of paper that are about the same width as my painting is. So if you look here, they're about the same width as my painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make up 3 different mountain ranges. They don't have to look like his. They can look kind of like however you want yours to look. And I'm going to see if this pencil, oh good, it does. It will show up. So I'm just going to make myself some mountains. There's one. Maybe this one's going to start and then it's going to come up. I don't know. There's a second one. And maybe a third. So there's 3 different mountain ranges. I am doing these on white paper, but if you had construction paper at home, like different blues, purples, maybe a really deep magenta, pink, something like that, you could do this very same thing on top of that construction paper, which is the way we would do it in class, but I'm trying to kind of adjust this for my boys and girls that are at home. So got my oil pastel sets here again, or your big box of crayons. And I'm just going to look to see like what colors he was using in there. So I see some different blues. I see lighter blues. I see some white, especially in that first mountain range, you know, and then the middle one, kind of maybe some medium blues with a little bit of a darker blue. And then that last one, some really dark blues and some blacks. So I'm just going to jump right in, and I'm going to work with, I guess, my first mountain range, the one that's closest to me. So I'm going to pull out of here. I'm going to get a white. I'm going to get a little sky blue. Got a darker blue. It's kind of a nice medium blue in between the two of them. I need to peel some paper off of that one. So sorry, there we go. I thought, yep, I got one more. I was like, I knew I had one more. So I've got these different blues, and I may even use a black. Okay, so I've kind of got from white to black, and then I've got 4 different blues. So I've got 3 different mountain ranges to do. So I'm gonna, I'm probably gonna try to divide my oil pastels. Use this for the first one, maybe with some of that. Maybe use these for the second one, and then maybe these 3 for the last one. So we'll just see how it goes. I'll be honest with you, I've not done my mountains this way before. I've always used colored construction paper. So we'll see how it turns out. All right, so his paintbrush work just has a lot of texture to it and line direction, and it's almost like he's painting using thousands of different colored lines. And so I'm going to look, they're kind of going diagonally, and I'm sure that's because he's trying to show the curve of the hills. So they're kind of like curving over the top of the hill, where that line is. So that's what I'm going to do, because I want my mountains, to look a little 3-dimensional also. So, that's what I'm going to do. In order to do that, I'm just going to start, and I'm going to cut this out later on so I can go like right over my pencil line. Kind of like that. I'm going to try to keep those lines all one instead of being choppy, because what that's doing is creating different hills, which you might want. I think I want mine just to be one big one though. So, and I'm not worried about that pencil line that I drew originally. I'm just trying to, whoop. That's the curse of oil pastels. So I'm just going to keep going. That and they get all over you, but that's okay. So I'm just going to keep going with these curves because I want this to look, And notice I'm going off my paper a little bit, so you might want to put a sheet of paper underneath your work so you can keep it from getting all over the place. So there's that first color, and it is, actually I'm going to hold off on the white. I'm going to go with this next blue first. And the reason I'm holding off on the white is because when I take the white back over everything else, it's going to help to blend these colors together for me. If you're using oil pastel, crayon might do it a little bit. But I'm hoping you guys have a set of oil pastels because they're pretty reasonable. For less than $5, you can get a pretty big set. So. So that's looking pretty nice. So now when I take the white over it, it may kind of blend some of those colors together. And notice how I'm not trying to color the whole thing in, because once I finish all 3 sets on my mountains, I am going to paint over them again, kind of like what I did with my sky. So it's okay if I've got, empty places still. For the paint to settle into. Yeah, I like how that white kind of blended everything. And that's why I like using 3, because usually by the time you get to the 3rd oil pastel, you've kind of run out of space and you can't help but let those colors kind of blend together. You could smudge them if you wanted to, if you didn't want to paint them. I'm afraid to do that right now because I don't want to have to redo this portion. So I'm trying to get right up that edge too. I might have to go back in with a little bit of something else. There we go. So there is my first mountain ready to go. So there's number 1 because it's the lightest. So I'm going to put a 1 on there. Now, feel free to skip through this video while I'm working on the other 2 mountain ranges. It's just going to be more of the same, just with different colors. So I was checking my computer a second ago to see if I could fast forward through this, but it's not an option. I can't like flip back and forth. It's either one or the other. So there's that anyway. So those are my first colors that I use. So I'm going to drop the white out this time, and I'm going to pull a darker one in. And I'm actually going to start with the middle color because that way the lighter one will affect it and the darker one will affect it also. That's just my thought process. You don't have to do it that way. I'm just thinking for myself that that may be what I want to have happen. And I'm just going to kind of look to see if he changes his line direction a little bit. You know, these are pretty diagonal, and then these start to kind of get a softer slope to them. So I may try to do that on this one. We'll just have to see how it goes. So just jump in. I'm trying to think, do I want them all to go the same direction too? Yeah, I probably do. Okay. So I'm going to kind of start here in the middle on this one. And I'm going to have to peel some more off here because I like that firm line as opposed to that really wide line. So I'm going to try to keep mine peeled, and I'm going to roll my oil pastel so I get a better line on there. And by roll, I mean I'm just kind of rotating it around because I'm not doing a rubbing. I'm actually trying to, you know, get these on here. I think this oil pastel is just wearing down. It's not gonna do for me like I need it to, but that's okay. I guess I'll just have thick lines, and that's all right. You know, I don't want them to end up getting stripy either, so I'm kind of feeling like that's leaning towards the stripy side. So I'm going to try to make sure when I introduce one of these other colors in that I try to be more random with my lines. I think if I move faster, it forces me to be more random. This one's getting pretty dark. I may not be able to see my pencil line. I may have to go back in there and put it back in. I'm actually going to darken that right there. I kind of like that. Kind of outlining a different mountain for me, different hill. There are people in our school gym right now, so I don't know if you can hear anything through the door or not, but there we go. So that's the dark one. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add a little bit of the lighter blue to it. So I think I'm going to hit anywhere I think that the moon might shine a little brighter. So maybe like right through there, maybe through there. It's kind of like highlights. I must be channeling my inner Bob Ross or something. But some of you out there are going to know what I'm talking about. So I like that. Got my little nub left here. I'm trying to use it up. Yeah. I ended up coloring that one all in. Okay. So anyway, you can kind of start to see, you know, this one would go in front of that one. So that's going to be kind of interesting to look at. And this is number 2 here. And then I'm going to use, I'm going to pull this one out. And I'm going to use these darker ones, and I may even throw a little black in there. And I may come back in here and do a little bit of black just to kind of help define some spaces. But I won't really know that until I get to there. So there's 2. And then I've got my last one, my 3rd one here. So again, I think I'm going to start with that middle color because I really like how that did on this last one that I did. So got medium blue and then a couple of darker blues. So I think this one's going to be a little taller, so I'm going to bring these down at a sharper angle, kind of like that. I want these to look really tall compared to some of my other ones here. I'm getting kind of predictable there, so I'm going to break up those lines. Because these are going to be the mountains for the background. And this is that mountain range that's the furthest away. Maybe like that. Yeah. So there we go. So that was my middle color. I'm going to go with the lighter one this time. We're just going to use it to fill back in a little bit. And with that darkest blue, I'm going to I'm going to help outline some of the mountains. I seem a little distracted. Someone's very not happy out in the gym. So sorry, guys. So here's my darkest blue. It's a navy blue here. And with this one, I should be able to like really kind of define where my hills are, where my mountains are. Just going to keep adding. Because, you know, the one that's furthest away, because it's nighttime, it's going to be the darkest. That would be a little different if this was a daytime scene that we were working on. And then, you know, I'm not too worried about the bottom because it's going to end up being tucked in behind some of my other mountains. So if I don't hit the bottom really heavily, I'm not that concerned about that. So, oh yeah, that black's going to help. I really enjoy oil pastels. It's like, to compare it to something we're all familiar with, it's like if you had a stick of soft butter and you were going to like draw with it. That's kind of what they feel like when you start to build up layers and layers of color on here. It gets really creamy and it gets easy to blend together, and it gets really smooth feeling. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to take this really dark blue, and I'm going to go back into, this was number 3, so I'm going to go back into number 2 with the dark blue. I don't want to use the black in it because I don't want it to be that strong. So I'm actually just going to use this dark blue and kind of go along where my light blue colors were. Right through there. Kind of define and separate those. Hills. Now, if we were in class, I would not sit here and have you guys watch this entire thing. You know, you could stop this at any time and just, you know, kind of skip around and do your own thing. I'm sharing my process with you just because I have the luxury of being able to share my process with you because, you know, doing videos for you guys at home, I don't have to worry about, you know, what time the next class is going to show up as much as, you know, I have to. So, so there's my 3 mountains. The only other thing I would do to these is I would probably use the blue paint, and I would paint over all of my mountains. And what that's going to do, the blue in that is going to unify the 3 mountains because there's a color that is similar between the 3, and it will just kind of unite the 3 of those. So I'm going to do that for you. Grab my water can again. And my blue. Oh, and I'm going to paint right over those. So you could do this with your regular watercolors, it's fine. And with these paints, it's like the longer that you swirl on it, the darker they get. But that's not necessarily how watercolors work if you have that strip of watercolors at home that you're doing. So. Got quite a bit of white in this one, which is fine. I may not have very many places for the paint to stick to. I'm kind of interested to see how these turn out. There's the first one. I'm just going to set it to the side here. There's my second. So whatever white spaces are left. And because I use this blue in the sky, it's going to, you know, this blue is going to be like a unifying color. It's going to create unity between all the parts. It's going to connect the sky to the mountains. There we go. So that one is done. And then my last one here. It's just going to help to fill in any white areas I have left. you go. So there's that one. And grab my second one. I laid them here on the floor next to me. There's the second one. And then the third one. Just a little bit harder to see. So, let's see here. There we go. Now you can see the three parts. So, once these dry, I will cut them out, but I still have the ground to work on, which is going to be done similarly to the way we've done these. I'm going to show you the one that I use in class with construction paper with the oil pastel over the colored construction paper. So, and I can also show you the ground that way. That one. I hope you can see it. It's kind of big, but it looks kind of like that. And here's what the back looks like. So I've got all these layers of construction paper on the back because I've glued the fronts together at different heights. And so you can kind of see how the different colors of construction paper show through to the front. And I'm using the same colors. I'm using, you know, blues and purples, and it looks like a little bit of green on this front one. But because I use the different colors of construction paper, they all kind of separate kind of on their own. And but they still look like my mountain range. So the only other thing I would do that I'm going to do off camera is do my ground, and I'm going to use some different greens and maybe a little bit of black, and then I will paint my last white sheet with a really dark green. And I may do that for you guys in a fast forward video so you don't have to sit through watching me do this, because you kind of have the idea now. So, because this video is going way long. But the mountains are kind of important, you know. People are going to really notice them, and we want them to look good. So I'm going to set these aside, let them dry, and then I'm going to do a fast forward video of the ground for you, the grass, and then that is probably where I will stop for today. Just showing you guys these two parts already put you ahead of the classroom lesson. So I figured you'd like to go ahead and be working on that. So I will see you in the next video, and I hope you guys continue to have a great day. Stay well.